Everybody loves to talk about motivation. People wake up in the morning, they go on YouTube, they search a motivational speech, they listen, they get pumped up, they get goosebumps, they feel like they're ready to run through a wall. But then what happened? That feeling is gone. That energy you felt, that fire in your chest, it burns out. And now you're left with the same reality, the same work that still has to get done. And this is where so many people fail, because they built their whole lives around chasing a feeling instead of building their lives on a foundation called discipline. Motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive when the wind blows. If you want to be great, if you want to be successful, you cannot rely on motivation alone, because motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. When the alarm goes off at 4 a.m., let me tell you something, you won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel like jumping out of bed and chasing greatness. Some mornings you're going to feel tired. Some mornings you're going to feel weak. Some mornings you're going to hear that little voice that says, hit the snooze button, rest a little longer. You can start tomorrow. You can start tomorrow. And if all you got is motivation, you're going to lose that battle every single time, because motivation is weak. Discipline is strong. Discipline says, I don't care how I feel. I don't care if I'm tired. I don't care if it's raining, if it's cold, if I'm not in the mood. I made a commitment, and I will keep that commitment no matter what. See, the problem with most people is they want the result, but they don't want the routine. They want the glory, but they don't want the grind. They want the championship, but they don't want the practice. And that's why discipline separates the winners from the quitters. Winners understand that feelings come and go, but habits remain. Quitters wait until they feel right before they act. Winners act first, and the feelings follow later. You don't wait to feel like doing it. You do it, and then you'll feel good that you did it. That's the difference between living on motivation and living on discipline. Think about the best athletes in the world. Kobe Bryant didn't become the Black Mamba because he was motivated every single day. No, he became great because he was disciplined. When the gym was empty, when everybody else was sleeping, he was in there shooting, sweating, grinding. Muhammad Ali didn't wake up every morning motivated to run miles in the cold. He said himself, he hated training, hated it. But he also said, I suffer now so I can live the rest of my life as a champion. That's discipline. That's the ability to push yourself through the boring, through the pain, through the monotony, because you set a standard for your life and you refuse to lower it. Listen to me. Your success will never come down to how motivated you are, but how disciplined you are. You want to write a book? Discipline will put you in front of that laptop every day until the pages are done. You want to get in shape? Discipline will drag you to the gym when motivation tells you to stay on the couch. You want financial freedom? Discipline will stop you from spending money you don't have, even when the temptation feels overwhelmed. Discipline is the invisible hand that guides you toward your destiny, while motivation is off somewhere taking a nap. And I need you to get this in your spirit. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is punishment. But no, discipline is the key that unlocks everything you've been dreaming of. Oh, when you discipline your body, you get the freedom of health. When you discipline your money, you get the freedom of wealth. When you discipline your time, you get the freedom to live life on your term. Discipline isn't about restriction. It's about construction. You're building a life brick by brick, habit by habit. And when the storms of life come, that structure won't fall because it's not built on feelings. It's built on discipline. Let me make it plain. If you're waiting to feel like it, you're never going to reach your goals. Some days you'll feel it, some days you won't. But discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Discipline is the voice inside of you that says, keep going, stay focused, don't quit. Motivation is like a visitor. It comes and goes. Discipline is like family. It stays, it endures, it's always there. Discipline is what will take you from where you are to where you want to be and will make sure you don't slide back. So I don't care what your dream is, college degree, business, athlete, entrepreneur. Stop waiting on motivation. Stop waiting for the right move. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You've got to develop discipline. And discipline doesn't just show up one day, it's built. Repetition is the secret sauce. Nobody wants to talk about it because it doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't give you that instant thrill. But let me tell you something. Repetition is what separates amateurs from professionals, the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers. Anybody can do something once. Anybody can do something twice. But it takes real discipline, real focus, real hunger to do the same thing over and over again until it becomes second nature. That's the truth about success. It's not built on one big moment. It's built on countless small, boring repetitions that compound into mastery. Think about it. The best in the world, the athletes, the artists, the leaders, they didn't get there by doing something one time and calling it good. They drilled it. They rehearsed it. They practiced it until they couldn't get it wrong. You see, most people practice until they get it right. The greats, they practice until they can't get it wrong. That's repetition. That's the boring work that leads to extraordinary results. Repetition builds muscle memory. And I don't just mean physical muscles. I'm talking about mental muscles. I'm talking about mental muscles, spiritual muscles. Spiritual muscle. When you repeat something enough, it stops being an effort and starts being automatic. At first, it feels heavy. At first, it feels like work. At first, you gotta drag yourself to do it. But over time, through consistent repetition, you reach a point where it feels unnatural not to do it. That's the power of repetition. It takes what once was hard and makes it easy. It takes what once required focus and makes it instinct. When Kobe Bryant was in the gym shooting 1,000 shots, it wasn't because he didn't already know how to shoot. It was because he understood that repetition turns good into great and great into unstoppable. When a pianist plays scales for hours, they're not doing it because it's exciting. They're doing it because repetition wires their brain, strengthens their fingers, and makes the hard stuff look effortless when the lights are on. When boxers hit the heavy bag, when soldiers drill the same movements, when surgeons practice procedures, it's all repetition because repetition prepares you for the moment that counts. And let me tell you something. Repetition doesn't just build skills, it builds confidence. The more you do something, the less you fear it. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And when the big stage comes, you don't freeze, you don't hesitate, because you've done it so many times before that it's just another rep. Repetition removes doubt. Repetition kills anxiety. Repetition gives you the assurance that you're ready, that you belong, that you can execute under pressure. But here's the problem. Most people get bored too quickly. They start something new. They put in a little effort. And the moment it feels repetitive, they want to quit. They want to switch. They want to chase the next shiny thing. That's why they stay average. Because the truth is, mastery is boring. Mastery is doing the same thing every day until excellence becomes your identity. Most people don't want to endure the boredom, so they never experience the greatness. Repetition is also how you build habits. Your life is nothing more than the sum of your habits, and habits are nothing more than repeated actions. You want to change your life? You've got to change what you do daily. You've got to repeat the right actions until they stick. Reading every day, eating healthy every day, saving money every day, working on your craft every day. That's repetition. And that repetition day after day, week after week, month after month, creates a life that looks completely different from the one you started with. And let me push you a little bit. Repetition doesn't just make you better, it reveals who you are. When you repeat something long enough, your weaknesses get exposed. The cracks in your discipline, the gaps in your preparation, the areas you thought you could hide. Repetition shines a light on all of it. That's why most people run from it, because repetition is uncomfortable. Repetition forces you to confront yourself. But if you stick with it, if you don't run, repetition also transforms those weaknesses into strengths. So stop looking for shortcuts. Stop waiting for the magic formula. Stop thinking that one attempt, one effort, one try is going to change your life. It won't. It never has, and it never will. Your breakthrough will come when you commit to the boring, unsexy, repetitive actions that nobody applauds, nobody celebrates, nobody even notices. That's where the real work is done. That's where greatness is forged. The champions are not the ones who did it once and got lucky. They're the ones who repeated it 1,000 times, 10,000 times, until luck had nothing to do with it. Repetition is the price of mastery. The truth about success that nobody wants to face is this: consistency creates separation. It's not the flash. It's not the hype. It's not even the talent that makes the difference over time. It's consistency. The reason most people stay average is because they show up only when they feel like it, only when it's convenient, only when the mood strikes. But the people who rise, the people who dominate, the people who make history, they show up every single day, whether they feel like it or whether they feel like it or not. That's where the separation happens. Think about it. Everybody can be great for a day. Everybody can show up strong for a week. Anybody can grind for a month. But can you show up for a year? Can you keep going when the applause fades? Can you stay locked in when nobody's paying attention? That's the real test. Consistency is what creates the gap between the good and the great. The amateurs and the professionals, the talkers and the doers. You don't need to be the most talented if you are the most consistent. Talent may give you a head start, but consistency determines the finish line. You can have two people start at the same time. One has all the talent, all the gifts, all the potential. The other has discipline and consistency. At first, the talented one looks unstoppable, but give it time. Watch what happens after a year, after 5 years, after 10 years. The talented one without consistency will fall off. The one with consistency without as much talent will outlast and eventually outperform, because consistency is undefeated. Consistency compounds. Every small action, every repeated effort, every day you show up when others don't, it stacks up. It builds momentum. It creates an unstoppable force. Consistency isn't sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not going to get you 1,000 likes on Instagram. People won't clap for you when you wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to work on your craft. Nobody's giving you a standing ovation for saving money, for studying late at night, for sticking to your workout. But in the dark, in the quiet, in the boring repetition, that's where the separation happens. And when the lights finally come on, when the moment arrives, you look unstoppable. Not because of one big moment, but because of thousands of consistent small ones. I need you to understand, consistency is a weapon. Most people quit too soon. They try something, they don't see instant results, and they stop. They go to the gym for 2 weeks. They don't see abs. They quit. They post content for a month. They don't blow up. They quit. They start saving money. It looks too small, they quit. That's the difference. The ones who stay consistent understand that results don't come immediate. Results come to those who keep watering the seed, even when they don't see the sprout. Results come to those who keep swinging, even when the tree hasn't fallen. Consistency creates the separation because most people simply won't endure long enough to see the reward. And let me make it real for you. Consistency is not about perfection. Stop thinking you got to get it right every time. Consistency means showing up again and again, even after you fall, even after you fail, even after you feel like quitting. Consistency means you don't stop. You keep coming back. You keep trying. You keep showing up. That's how separation is created. Not because you never made mistakes, but because you refused to stop when you did. Think about the greatest athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders in history. They weren't great because they had one magical day. They were great because they stacked day after day, week after week, year after year, until their body of work spoke for itself. Michael Jordan didn't become Michael Jordan because he had one good game. Yep. He became the GOAT because he showed up every single day, practicing, competing, pushing, never letting up. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon into a $1 trillion company in 1 year. It took decades of consistency, reinvesting, learning, adjusting. Oprah didn't build her empire with one episode. It was decades of consistently showing up, delivering value, connecting with people. Consistency is the real flex. Consistency is what makes the average extraordinary. Consistency is the difference between a hobby and a legacy. The truth is, the grind is supposed to be boring. The grind is supposed to feel repetitive. But while others complain about the monotony, the consistent ones embrace it because they know every rep, every step, every day adds up. The boring work you do today is the separation you'll enjoy tomorrow. So stop chasing motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop thinking you need everything figured out before you start. Just show up. Show up today. Show up tomorrow. Show up the next day. Do it when you feel like it. Do it when you don't. That's how the gap widens. While others are inconsistent, distracted, and unfocused, you will be consistent, steady, and locked in. Everybody wants the big win, the overnight success, the championship moment where the lights are shining and the crowd is cheering. But let me break it down for you. Success doesn't happen in one giant leap. Success is the result of small wins stacked day after day, month after month, year after year. The problem with most people is that they dismiss the small wins because they don't look like much in the moment. Reading 10 pages feels insignificant. Saving $10 feels too small. Doing 20 push-ups feels like it won't make a difference. But that's the trap. Because those tiny actions, those daily wins, when compounded over time, become unstoppable momentum. That's how lives are changed. That's how dreams are achieved. Not by waiting for the big break, but by committing to the small wins that add up to greatness. Think about a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small, almost nothing. But as it rolls, it gathers more snow. It grows. It picks up speed. And before you know it, it's massive and impossible to stop. That's exactly how small wins work. They may not look powerful at first, but when you stack them consistently, they turn into something unstoppable. Most people never get to see that growth because they quit too early. They dismiss the power of small wins and keep waiting for the big opportunity. But the truth is, the big opportunity is built on the back of small, consistent victory. Look at the best athletes in the world. They don't wake up one day and dominate their sport out of nowhere. They stack small wins. An extra hour in the gym, another rep in practice, one more drill done right. Day after day, those small wins build confidence, skill, and momentum until the big stage comes, and they're ready to shine. Look at wealthy people. They didn't get rich overnight. They stack small wins by saving, investing, making smart decisions over time. At first, it looks like nothing is happening, but compound those small actions over years, and suddenly the difference is enormous. Here's the truth. Small wins create habits, and habits shape your destiny. If you win the morning by getting up on time, reading and exercising, you've already set the tone for the day. If you win the day by staying disciplined, you set the tone for the week. Stack those weeks, and you built a month of momentum. Stack the months, and you've got a year of progress. That's how ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. Not with one magical moment, but with thousands of small wins that nobody claps for. But most people lose because they underestimate the small. They don't think skipping one workout matters. They don't think spending an extra $10 matters. They don't think missing one study session matters. But small losses compound just like small wins do. Missing one thing leads to missing another until suddenly you've lost the habit completely. Success isn't about one big decision, it's about thousands of little ones. Every choice you make is either a small win or a small loss, and over time, those choices stack into the life you're living right now. I need you to respect the process. Respect the small wins. Don't look down on the tiny steps, because those tiny steps are leading you toward the giant leap. Every time you show up, even if it's just for a few minutes, that's a win. Every time you resist temptation, that's a win. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, that's a win. It might not feel like much, but you're building momentum. And momentum is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Think about water dripping on a rock. One drop doesn't change anything. 10 drops don't change anything. But drop after drop after drop over time carves a hole in the rock. That's the power of small wins. The individual action may seem powerless, but the repeated action over time is unstoppable. You've got to trust that process, even when you don't see immediate results. Because the compound effect is invisible at first, but when it shows up big. So I'm challenging you today, stop waiting for the big win. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. And stop waiting for the perfect moment. Start stacking small wins right now. Read the 10 pages. Do the 20 push-ups. Save the $10. Write the one page. Make the one phone call. Don't dismiss it because it feels small. Respect it because it's powerful. Excitement feels good. Excitement makes you feel like you're ready to conquer the world. When you start a new goal, you're excited. When you buy that new planner, join that new gym, launch that new idea, the excitement is real. But let me be real with you. The excitement doesn't last. Excitement fades. Excitement is like fireworks. It makes a lot of noise. It lights up the sky for a moment, and then it disappears. If your success is built on excitement, the moment the fireworks go out, so will your drive. That's why so many people start strong and finish weak. That's why gyms are full in January and empty in March. That's why people talk about dreams but never live them. Because they rely on excitement instead of focus. Focus is what outlasts excitement. Focus is what will carry you to the finish line long after the thrill is gone. Focus is a commitment. Focus says, I'm locked in no matter what. Focus says, I don't care if I'm tired, I don't care if I'm bored, I don't care if it doesn't feel new anymore, I will keep going. Excitement makes you start. Focus makes you finish. Anybody can be excited for a week. Anybody can be excited when it's fresh. But the real winners are the ones who can stay focused when the feeling disappears. Focus is what keeps you showing up when there's no crowd, no applause, no spotlight. Focus is what makes you keep swinging even when you've been hitting the same wall for years. Up with him. You see, excitement is about emotions, but focus is about vision. Excitement is about how you feel today, but focus is about where you're going tomorrow. When you're focused, you don't need to feel excited because you've already decided who you are and where your head is. Focus is like a compass. It keeps pointing you in the right direction even when the road feels long and empty. Without focus, you'll chase every shiny object, every new distraction, every trend. With focus, you stay on your lane. You block out the noise. You keep pressing toward the mark. Let me tell you why focus outlasts excitement. Because focus is fueled by purpose. When you know why you're doing something, you don't need the thrill to keep going. Purpose keeps you alive when the hype dies. Purpose keeps you disciplined when the novelty is gone. Think about a mother working 3 jobs to feed her kids. She's not excited to wake up early. She's not excited to stay up late. B, her focus is locked in because her purpose is bigger than her feelings. That's what I'm talking about. When you have focus, you can push through the seasons when the emotions aren't there. Focus also builds endurance. The more you practice focus, the stronger it gets. Every time you choose to stay locked in when you're not excited, you're training your mind to keep moving forward. You're building the muscle of commitment. You're proving to yourself that you don't need fireworks to stay consistent. And once you built that kind of focus, nothing can stop you. Distractions lose their power. Boredom loses its sting. The hype around you doesn't move you because you've trained yourself to stay the course no matter what. And let's be real. Most people never finish because they mistake excitement for commitment. They think because they're excited today, that excitement will still be there tomorrow. But when it's gone, they quit. Winners understand the difference. Winners know excitement is temporary, so they build their life around focus. Focus is steady. Focus is consistent. Focus is reliable. Focus says, I will keep going until I cross the finish line, whether I feel like it or not. Look at the people who achieve greatness. Do you think they were excited every single day? No, but they were focused. They knew the mission. They stayed locked in when it got boring, when it got hard, when it felt like nothing was happening. Focus made them keep working, keep building, keep growing until one day the results showed up. The difference between average and extraordinary isn't who got more excited, it's who stayed more focused. So here's the challenge. Stop depending on excitement. Stop chasing that feeling like it's going to carry you. Start training your focus. Wake up and remind yourself of your purpose. Write down your goals and stare at them until they're burned into your mind. When distractions come, cut them off. When boredom comes, push through it. When excitement fades, lean on focus. Because the ones who stay focused when the excitement is gone are the ones who finish what they started. And finishing is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Most people don't realize that the boring work is the training ground for mental toughness. They think mental toughness comes from big, dramatic moments, from facing huge challenges, from those once-in-a-lifetime tests. Yeah, but the truth is, mental toughness is built in the quiet, ordinary, repetitive moments that nobody claps for. It's built when you're doing the same routine over and over again, when you're showing up every day, even though it feels dull, when you're staying locked in while everyone else is distracted. The boring is where your mind gets tested. The boring is where your endurance is sharpened. The boring is where you learn to push through when there's no excitement no thrill, no spotlight. And if you can master the boring, you can become unshakable, because the boring is what strengthens your mind to handle anything. When you push through the boring, you're training yourself to stay disciplined, even when nothing around you is pushing you. You're teaching your brain that it doesn't need entertainment, it doesn't need constant stimulation, it doesn't need instant results to keep moving forward. That's mental toughness. The ability to keep going with no applause, no recognition, no immediate payoff. Because let's be honest, life isn't always exciting. Most of your days won't feel like a movie. They'll feel ordinary. And if you quit when things feel ordinary, you'll never reach extraordinary. You'll never reach extraordinary. Mental toughness is built when you can stay steady in the ordinary. Think about soldiers. They don't just train in combat, they train in drills. The same push-ups, the same marches, the same routines over and over until it's burned into their system. Why? Because the boring drills build toughness. The boring drills teach them discipline, focus, and resilience, so that when the real battle comes, they don't fold. Athletes are the same way. Running laps, doing drills, lifting weights is boring. But it's those boring sessions that give them the mental edge to outlast their competition. The greats don't just tolerate the boring, they embrace it, because they know the boring is building a mind that won't break under pressure. Mental toughness isn't about hype, it's about habits. When you do the boring tasks daily, you are programming your mind to stick to commitments. Every time you wake up early when you don't feel like it, you're toughening your mind. Every time you finish a workout when you'd rather quit, you're toughening your mind. Every time you resist the distraction and stick to the routine, you're toughening your mind. That toughness doesn't just stay in that one area, it bleeds into every area of your life. Suddenly you're stronger in your work, stronger in your relationships, stronger in your goals, stronger in your goals, because you trained your brain not to give up just because it feels dull. Most people run from boredom. They can't sit in silence. They can't commit to routine. They're addicted to novelty, always chasing the next exciting thing. That's why they never grow strong mentally, because the moment it feels boring, they quit. But the people who endure boredom are the ones who become mentally indestructible. If you can keep going in the absence of thrill, you can keep going in the presence of pressure. That's why boring builds mental toughness, because it strips away the fluff and forces you to operate purely on commitment. Think about students grinding for a degree. Reading textbooks, taking notes, writing essays. It's not exciting, it's long, tedious, and repetitive. But sticking with it builds mental resilience. And that resilience is what carries them into their careers. Think about entrepreneurs. The boring work of sending emails, managing numbers, making calls, that's what strengthens their perseverance. And that perseverance is what sustains them when setbacks come. Boring work is like weightlifting for your brain. Every rep strengthens your ability to endure, and endurance is everything. And let's not forget, life itself is full of boring seasons, times when nothing seems to be happening, times when it feels like you're grinding with no results, times when the payoff seems far away. If you don't build mental toughness in those seasons, you'll collapse when life tests you. But if you learn to embrace the boring, to push through when it feels meaningless, you'll come out stronger than anyone who only performs when it's exciting. The boring seasons are where champions are made. So stop despising the boring. Stop running from it. Stop running from it. Start seeing it for what it really is. A boot camp for your mind. Every boring task you push through is a victory over weakness. Every routine you stick to is another layer of strength added to your character. Every dull day you endure is sharpening your resilience for the days that truly matter. The boring is not your enemy. The boring is your ally. Because the boring is what builds the mental toughness you'll need to stand tall when everyone else is crumbling. Everybody has a dream. Everybody talks about what they want, where they want to go, who they want to be. You hear it all the time. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be rich. I'm going to change the world. But the truth is, most people will never get there. Not because they don't have the ability, not because they don't have the talent, but because they don't have the patience and discipline to endure the boring. That's the dividing line. That's the filter. The boring is what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers love the idea of success. They love the excitement, the vision boards, the motivational talks, the energy. They get hyped up when they imagine themselves at the top, but they never last in the grind. The moment it gets repetitive, the moment it feels dull, the moment the routine kicks in, they check out. They want the results, but they don't want the process. They want the crown, but they don't want the sweat. And that's why they stay dreamers. Because dreams without discipline are fantasies. Doers, on the other hand, understand that dreams don't come to life without sweat equity. Doers don't just talk about it, they show up for it. They don't just love the vision, they embrace the repetition. They don't just want the big moments, they master the small daily ones. Doers understand that the boring, the early mornings, the late nights, the countless hours of practice, the endless repetition, that's where success is forged. Doers don't wait to feel inspired, they push through boredom because they know the boring is the doorway to the breakthrough. Think about it, anybody can get excited about writing a book, but the dreamer quits after a few chapters, boring to sit in front of a blank page every day. The doer writes anyway, page after page, until the book is finished. Anybody can dream about running a marathon. But the dreamer stops training when the runs get long and the schedule gets repetitive. The doer keeps running mile after mile until the finish line is crossed. Anybody can dream about building a business. But the dreamer quits when the grind of emails, calls, and problem solving gets dull. The doer keeps building, keeps showing up, keeps handling the unglamorous work until the business thrives. That's the difference. The boring is not glamorous. Nobody posts on social media about studying late at night, making cold calls, or practicing the same move for the 1,000th time. But that's the work that actually makes the dream real. Dreamers want the highlight reel. Doers embrace the behind-the-scenes grind. Dreamers crave attention. Doers crave progress. And progress is always built in the boring. And let me be real, the boring is a test. It's the universe asking you how bad you really want it. Because if you can't survive the boring, you don't deserve the breakthrough. The boring will expose you. It will show you if you're serious or just playing. That's why so many people fall off. They mistake excitement for commitment. They think their passion will carry them. But passion without consistency burns out. Only the doers, the ones who endure the boring, cross the finish line. The boring isn't separated because most people just won't do it. They won't wake up at the same time every day. They won't stick to the same routine. They won't keep working on the same skill until it's second nature. They'll get distracted, they'll chase something new. They'll talk about how hard it is. But the doers, the ones willing to lock in on the boring, are the ones who rise. Because while everybody else is quitting, they're still building. While everybody else is distracted, they're still focused. While everybody else is daydreaming, they're making it real. Look around at any industry, any field, any arena. The people at the top are not just the most talented. They're the most consistent. They're the ones who stuck with the boring long after everyone else quit. That's what creates the gap. That's why they stand on the podium while the dreamers watch from the crowd. Not because they dream bigger, but because they endure longer. So I'm asking you, are you just a dreamer or are you a doer? Are you in love with the idea of success or are you committed to the boring process that leads to it? Because the boring will decide for you. It will separate you. It will expose whether you're serious or just talking. The boring doesn't lie. You either show up or you don't. And the ones who show up, the doers, are the ones who get to live the dream while everyone else keeps talking about it. Your future isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the boring ones. Everybody thinks their future depends on some breakthrough, some massive opportunity, some once-in-a-lifetime shot. But let me tell you, your future is being written in the small, quiet, repetitive decisions you make every single day. It's not the one big game, it's the countless hours of practice. It's not the one big exam, it's the hours of studying in silence. It's not the promotion you're waiting for, it's the consistency you put into your work long before anyone notices. The boring is where your future is shaped. And if you don't learn to master it, you'll never get to the place you dream about. Think about the farmer. He doesn't just wake up one morning and expect a harvest. He spends months doing boring work, planting seeds, watering the ground, pulling weeds, checking the soil. Day after day, it looks like nothing is happening. But in reality, everything is happening beneath the surface. The harvest always comes later, but only because the farmer was faithful in the boring. Your future is the same way. Every decision, every routine, every boring act of discipline is a seed plant. One day those seeds will sprout, but only if you kept planting when it felt like nothing was moving. Your future isn't waiting for you to get excited. Your future is waiting for you to get consistent. Excitement fades, but consistency compounds. And it's the compounding of boring tasks that creates extraordinary results. The person who practices for 15 minutes every day will surpass the person who practices for 2 hours once a week. The student who reviews notes daily will be far ahead of the one who crams at the last minute. The entrepreneur who shows up every day, making calls, sending emails, grinding in the background, will have a stronger foundation than the one who only works when they feel inspired. That's the truth. Your future belongs to the boring. The boring is where character is built. Because let's be honest, anybody can be great when they feel great. Anybody can put in effort when it's fun, when it's fresh, when people are watching. But your future doesn't care about the hype. Your future is built on the days when no one is watching and you still choose to put in the work. Those are the days that strengthen you. Those are the days that prepare you for opportunity. Those are the days that stack up quietly until one day people call you a lucky. When in reality, you just mastered the boring. And here's the thing. Your future will expose whether or not you respected the boring. The student who ignored the boring hours of study will fail when the exam comes. The athlete who skipped the boring drills will break down in the big game. The entrepreneur who avoided the boring details will crumble when the business scales. The boring always catches up with you. Either it pays you back with success or it punishes you with regret. But one way or another, your future is tied to what you did in the boring. Too many people sabotage their future because they're addicted to shortcuts. They want the fast track, the easy path, the hack that lets them skip the grind. But what they don't realize is skipping the boring is skipping the boring is skipping the very process that prepares you for the future. You can't cheat repetition. You can't cheat consistency. You can't cheat the boring because the boring is the foundation. And when you try to build a future without a foundation, it will collapse under pressure. Your future self is depending on you right now. Every day you decide whether that future version of you will be strong, disciplined, successful, or weak, unprepared, and full of regret. The boring is the investment you make into your future self. The boring is the price you pay today so that your tomorrow is better. And just like investing money, the earlier, more consistently you put in, the bigger the return will be later. If you neglect it, your future will cost you more than you can afford. So don't despise the boring. Don't run from it, embrace it. See every routine, every repetition, every quiet act of discipline as a brick you're laying for your future. One brick doesn't look like much, but stack enough of them and you got a fortress. One day, people will look at success and call it overnight. But you'll know the truth. Your future was built day by day, choice by choice, in the boring. Your destiny isn't waiting for you in some far-off, dramatic moment. It's waiting for you right here, in the boring. And if you learn to master it, your future will be greater than you ever imagined. But if you keep avoiding it, your future will slip away while you're distracted. The choice is yours. Your future depends on how you handle the boring right now.